11th of August 2002, a sunny Sunday afternoon, Toyota Park, Sharks, Knights. 37th minute, Sharks up 30, yes, 30 points to nil against the reigning premiers. 32 metres out, last tackle, halfback Brett Kimmorley puts a regulation kick downfield towards the post. The ball dips just below the crossbar and lands about 1 metre into the in goal. Knights fullback Robbie O'Davis has already had a torrid afternoon. He watches as the ball bounces and dribbles, surely out and over the dead ball line. This reprieve doesn't come. To his horror, it sits up. Before he realises that, he thinks surely one more bounce or roll the ball and he'll go back to the 20 and get a bit of a break. But little did he know, the little halfback known as Noddy was about to steal it from under his nose. The Knights' afternoon was about to go from bad to worse, whilst the fun and frivolity for the Sharks was barely halfway done. Was it genius? Was it luck? Was it both? Who cares? This is the biggest Sharks win of all time at Shark Park. Let's enjoy this. Welcome to another episode of Classic Cronulla Chronicles. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ET Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fan podcast, where we let our talking do the football. Here, another episode of Classic Cronulla Chronicles, where we go back to a corresponding fixture from the match that we're covering or seeing this week. So, round 24 of the 2024 season, we played the Knights at home on Sunday afternoon. We go back to 2002. Knights are reigning premiers. We were on a bit of a streak. Scott Latino back with me for this one. And what are your memories of 2002?
Oh, mate, I remember going into 2002 expecting big things after missing out in that prelim the season before to the team we're talking about right now and reigning premiers in the Knights. Mate, I remember starting off the season well, hitting a little bit of a form slump early on and then going on that big win streak, which brought us through to this game. And just an electrifying team, a great era of football, and take me back.
Yeah, well, a bit of an up and down start to the year. We opened with 3 in a row, which was probably one of the last times we did that. John Lang had departed the year before after us giving up the prelim after leading 10-6 at half time. Ben Kennedy, Mark Hughes, Joey Johns orchestrating, and then they would go on and win the grand final the following week. We had Chris Anderson come in. A lot of upheaval, all the controversy around Preston Campbell. Where does he play? We've signed Brett Kimmorley on a 1-year contract, a whole host of ins and outs. And we were up and down early, lost in Brisbane, jagged a few other wins, had a few injury problems, and then lost 7 in a row, culminating with a 36-6 loss at Shark Park, where the Sharks were booed off. I remember that distinctly. Brett Kimmorley was not at all in the good books with the Sharks fans, having unseated previous year's Dally M winner Preston Campbell at halfback. We all know the story well. The younger fans may not, so go back and have a look at this. Hopefully this lifts up that rock for you to see how complex this period was. But this was the all-time highlight of that period, which was great fun. We'll look at the form in a second. But as we roll into it, one opening point from me, when we started this little podcast and I was going to do my history corner, this was one of the games. I was like, we have to cover this. So we're covering this the first time now. We may cover it again in further depth with other people, maybe even some players involved later. But here's the form guide going in. Sharks sitting 5th. They were on a 8-match winning streak at this point in time. So after losing 7 in a row, they had then won 8 in a row. They turned it around. Do you remember who the first game in that streak was? Just putting you on the spot here. No worries if you don't.
No, I don't. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, so we're down 13-0 against the Dragons at home. I think it was Willie Peters or someone kicked a massive field goal, probably a 2-point field goal these days, right on halftime to make it 13-0. Walking off, Peachy in his first game back from injury gave referee Shane Hayne an absolute serve. It was caught on ABC radio. Unfortunately, that audio is no longer available. I'm sure it's in an archive somewhere. Where basically was going, this is SH12. You've got to give us a fair go. Second half starts, 34 unanswered points, and Sharks win 34-13. Beat the Raiders at home the following week in a bit of a scratchy performance, that one, and then went from there. So looking at that, looking at that form, the last 5, we'd beaten the Roosters, eventual 0-2 premiers, spoiler alert, at what was known as Aussie Stadium, Sydney Football Stadium at the time, 34-20. We had a scratchy win at home on a Saturday night in retro jerseys, the same one that's over my shoulder right here, 22-6 at home in that one. We beat Manly 46-24 after being down 18-0 at halftime. That was a record comeback. All 46 points coming in the second half of that one. We beat the Eels 25-24. We got out to a lead in that one, and the Eels came back late to kind of get a score that flattered the Eels. I think we're up by 12 and then 7 late on, and they scored to have a consolation. And then the Warriors game at home, 36-24. Remember that was a Sunday afternoon. A lot of Warriors fans. The Warriors on their way to a unlikely first place, unlikely minor premiership that year. While for the Knights, a bit up and down, 26-12 against the Dragons. The one game you may remember was a big Channel 9 game at the time. The Bulldogs were flying, winning everything, and then there'd be a salary cap scandal shortly after this. Hazem El Masri kicking it for the right touchline at Marathon Stadium to win 21-20 after the Knights were up, I think, 19-0 at halftime. They beat the Panthers 38-22. They lost the Raiders 30-24, and they beat the Eels 24-18. So that's a lot of talking by me. Do you remember any of these matches in there?
Mate, I remember the Eels match. I remember that being an absolute nail biter. And the Bulldogs game, I remember that Bulldogs game. The Knights lost that with that El Masri kick. It was just such a strong era of football. There were a lot of close matches there, and anyone could have beaten anyone on the day. But a lot of big come from behind wins by us, which was pretty nice to see.
Yeah, so the Roosters game the week before, we had a handy lead. The Roosters ran us down. I think they led 20-18 late in the match, about 15 to go, and then we scored 3 quick tries to seal that one. Another comeback against Manly as well. So it was a side that was stringing wins together against quality opposition. Roosters hadn't really exposed themselves as the threat that they would become. Things would change as the season went on, but yes, we were going into this match 8 wins in a row, looking for number 9. And I remember distinctly, unfortunately, I couldn't find it. I was trying to get back through archives. I'll get some access via our library somewhere. I distinctly remember the Sun Herald that day, Phil Gould's his column, talking about how the Sharks would lose. The streak would be over. The Knights were full strength, barring Ben Kennedy. And I suppose normality will be restored, and the Sharks will be a kind of a 5th to 8th place team. So roll forward to the lineups and looking at the Sharks side. So the fullback and captain, David Peachey, the wingers, Matthew Reek and Paul Miller, one of my favourite large wingers. The centres, Chris McKenna and Paul Fronze in his first year in first grade. The halves, Shark number 3, 5, 6, I believe it was, Jai Mullane in jersey 18, a late replacement for Matthew Johns. The halfback, Brett Kimmorley, in his first year with the club. The front row of Jason Stevens, Dean Treaster, Chris Beattie in jersey 15, a bit of a late shuffle there. Matt Bickerstaff, Phil Bailey, Nick Graham, the back row, and a bench of Danny Nutley, Paul Gallen. Actually, there may be a typo there, but Paul Gallen in jersey 15 as well. So I think Chris Beattie's in jersey 10. Danny Nutley, Paul Gallen, Dean Bosnich, and Pat Gibson, the replacement hooker. The coach in his first year for the club as well, Chris Anderson. Whilst the Knights side, and I'll look for your comments on these sides in a sec. So the back 3 of Robbie O'Davis, Tamana Tahu, Anthony Quinn. The centres of Matthew Gidley, Mark Hughes. The halves of Kurt Gidley, Andrew Johns, the captain. The front row of Josh Perry, Danny Baderis, Matt Parsons. Back row, Steve Simpson, Daniel Abraham, Bill Peden. And the bench of Adam Woolnough, Clint Newton, John Morris, future Sharks coach, and Sean Rudder. The coach, Michael Hagan. Thoughts?
Mate, as much as I would have loved to have seen a Johns v. Johns matchup, I was even more excited to see a mate of mine who I went to school with in Jai Mullane. We played a bit of junior footy together at school, winning his dad, Mick, coached us, ex-Shark, along with Martin Raftery. Yeah, I always knew Jai was going to make it at some point and play in the top grade. He's just a gun as a kid growing up. Like, he was always the best athlete in our year, in our school at the time. You always knew he was going to go on and have a crack. But what a side. Matty Reek, you had the speed. McKenna had some big backs there in Mellor and McKenna, for feeding Fronze and Noddy. Mate, what a team. What a team. And Newcastle, wow, look at their squad. Pretty much the premiership winning team from the season before, and some big names in there as well, big spine players, and
yeah, a few things to unpack there. I'll look at the Knights team first before we fawn over the Sharks side. But the Knights team wasn't too different from the 0-1 grand final lineup. I think Adam McDougall had played on the wing for the Knights in that one. I'd have to confirm that one, looking at the fact that Anthony Quinn was there. Sean Rudder was starting 5/8, replacing Kurt Gidley. The big out was Ben Kennedy, but they had a whole stack of players back. So the Knights were effectively full strength. And looking at the bench, so Ben Kennedy was starting instead of Daniel Abraham, and the bench was Paul Marquette, Clinton O'Brien, Glenn Grief, Daniel Abraham. So a few changes there. So obviously John Morris not there, Clint Newton and Adam Woolnough not there as well, but still a side full of State of Origin and international players. Well, for the Sharks, Paul Fronze first season, he'd basically unseated Paul Miller at centre, pushed him out to the wing, which pushed Colin Best, who was kind of a wing/centre, who played 13 matches that season, back to reserve grade, and then would depart the club at the end of the year. So Fronze really out of nowhere, really, but a young guy signed from the Newcastle junior system, found his spot in the centres, pushing Paul Miller out to the wing, which we'll see how damaging he was there. And Jai Mullane, your good mate at the time. So not to give your age away, so it would have been early 20s, about 20-ish for him to make his debut at that age.
Yeah, mate. So it would have been 21, about 21 there.
21. Wow, that's huge. So I could definitely see your excitement there. I remember there was a bit of talk at the time. So Matthew Johns had some injury troubles. We played Newcastle earlier in the year. It was billed as the Battle of the Brothers. Johns had left Newcastle at the end of 2000, went to England for a year at Wigan, came back, and it was Andrew v. Matthew. That one, we had a lot of injuries, and fortunately Preston Campbell at fullback had an absolute shocker, but he wasn't on his own there. The entire team did, and we lost 52 points to 8, which I believe was also Paul Fronze and Greg Bird's debut. So let's talk about Greg Bird. He had played quite a few matches that year, why he wasn't in the side, but Jai Mullane was given the jersey 18, and what a day to start it all. Were you at this match?
No, I didn't get to this one, mate, unfortunately. But I wish I was. I really wish I was. I actually, I only got to see Andrew Johns in the flesh play one game.
Wow.
So I didn't get to see to too many Newcastle games, but mate, what a win.
I am fortunate to say, or unfortunate, depending on what you talk about. So I was at the 0-1 prelim, and I saw Andrew Johns was definitely the difference there. His kicking game was unbelievable.
Yep.
The 0-1 home match where we won 49-30, it's been not fondly or often remembered, but we, I suppose, put 49 points on a team that won the comp. So if we had a late try to Chris Beattie disallowed, I think, for a forward pass, which was a bit of a rort. If that one got up, then no one would be talking about the 50 points you can't win a comp business. But Andrew Johns that day was really good. That was Matt Rogers' first day game back from a long-term injury. I'd seen, and 2000, Joey played in that one. So I was lucky enough to see Joey play a decent amount. And we had family, so up in Newcastle. So I'd seen him a few times up there too. He was just, I think still, maybe it's just my memory as a kid seeing him, but he's still by far the best player. The most influence on a game from any individual. Had the ball on a string and just could do anything. He's unfortunately aligned by injury. There's a picture of him there with his head down. He didn't have a happy afternoon, but neither did his 16 other teammates that day as well. Just looking at that side as well. So Dean Treaster was his 150th match. So there was a bit of fanfare around that one. Matthew Reekwood signed for Penrith. You're right, plenty of speed. So we'll see that. Brett Kimmorley was starting to come into his own after the early controversy and scrutiny around him. That forward pack still had Jason Stevens, Chris Beattie, Nick Graham was still there, Phil Bailey. Chris Beattie is just one of my
Danny Nutley.
One of my favourite. Yeah, Nutley off the bench. A young Paul Gallen in just his it's made his debut in 01. I think it was his 13th first grade match. Dean Bosich and Pat Gibson as well. So not exactly household names there, but did a job. Matt Bickerstaff was immense for us that season, and that was his first year for us after he'd started his career, I believe, with the South Queensland Crushers a few years prior to that. So we'll roll forward to the actual match itself. So there's going to be a lot of tries in this one for those that aren't aware. So we were a bit, I suppose, limited on the number of videos we could upload. So there's 11 tries in total. I could only upload 10. So unfortunately, Matthew Reek's second try didn't get a run, but we'll open with the first try. The video doesn't show the whole try, but I'll try and commentate it here. So a bit of an opening exchange of sets. The Sharks got downfield, and then the 9th minute, a bit of a swing out to the right, and Mellor to McKenna. So here you got Mellor, who nice little right foot step, beats 2 defenders there, and then cuts it back outside to McKenna, who scores there. Unfortunately, the video cuts out at that point there, but a nice little early start. It was a good start, but I don't think anyone in the stadium could really predict what was to come after that one.
No.
And then, but shortly afterwards, I think it was the next set to the game number 150. Noddy up the guts, back inside to Tristar, who was a very happy second try scorer. Caps off a milestone with a try after only 10 minutes, and then floodgates opened, as we see on the next slide. Tristar there, and then here's the peachy one, which Boldo was talking about last night on our Tuesday show. Like a thief in the night. It's a great bit of Ray Warren commentary, and this is exactly that moment. So nice little grubber in from Kimmorley on the last, and then it's just coming across in goal, and Peachy just puts his big hand on it. I was actually sitting in those seats in the Family Hill right in front of that. I was probably 10, 20 metres away from there. Felt like Peachy was going to come out and high five us. It was a great start. Obviously, there's Billy Harrigan there putting it up to the video ref, and that's the all-important third try after just 20-odd minutes, and things are looking good. As I'll give you one more try before we chat about the opening 4 tries. This one, you could tell it was going to be our day from this. A little kick over the top, funny bounce, just beats everyone. Paul Franze picks up, and Matty Reek with the speed on the inside dots down and
just slide on his head there.
Yes, yeah, he did.
Flick nearly went over his head.
Yeah, Matt Reek with the put down. We'll go back to that one. So yeah, so ducks in, and then yes, so he's almost inadvertently done a forward roll in the put down. Yeah. Luckily, the try was given that they didn't go up there, and he's celebrating with Dean Bosnich. So, do you have much by way of memory of this match? I know you said you weren't there. There was the opening 4 tries.
I did watch it. Watch the replay. That Peachy try, I could watch that all day. That was just beautiful watch. Him in full flight, as you said, a thief in the night. Just plucked it out of the grasp and boom, pops it out.
And just loved how it just smooth everything.
It's just always there when you like. I'd hate to be an opposing fullback to the Peach. Like you don't know where he's going to pop up. He's just always there. So no, it was a great little try there. Matty Reek with the speed, and a great one for Tristar there in his 150th.
Yeah, 150th. And that was a set after points. Our forward pack rolled downfield. We'll talk about our forward pack and the flat attack and all that was 2002 with that. But we got the ascendancy early. We're winning the ruck, quick play the balls. That would be a controversial thing later in the 2002 season where we'd get pinged by a rule change. But that was, I suppose, indicative of that. 3rd, 4th tackle, steamrolled downfield, and then quick play the ball. Tristar to Kimmorley, straight through, gives it back to Tristar and scores. But Peachy, everything he did was just so smooth. And that one there, just like, I remember seeing it and watching. I just think, I was 14, 15 at the time. Grubber goes into the in goal, and it's there, and you could see him just loping on through as he does, and puts his big left hand down, and just thanks for coming. But looking at all of that, 4 tries in the opening 26 minutes, and it's just blown out really after what was billed as the match of the round. All of a sudden, Sharks are 24-0 up, and we're like, "Oh, this is unusual. What could possibly go wrong from?" Yeah, what could possibly go wrong from here? So as we move a bit further, and the points just kept on coming bizarrely, and I was sitting there with good mates that are Newcastle fans. So my mate Nick and his brother Will, and they were talking up. And I think in reserve grade, I can't remember I can't remember which way it was, where the Sharks won by 40, Colin Bess carving up on the Knights won by 40. I can't remember, but it was like, oh yeah, that won't happen in reserve grade. I remember there was a comment saying that won't happen in reserve grade. And all of a sudden, after 20 odd minutes, it's 24-0, and things kept happening. So here's the first of Noddy's tries as we bring that up. So got downfield again. It gives it to, I think that was Stevens. It was an offload there anyway, and Noddy just takes a line on and scores next to the post. And
oh, there's the feeding Fronze sign. How good!
Feeding Fronze sign. you can't have a video from that era and not have the feeding Fronze on the southern hill there. Havoc. And then straight afterwards, so that was the 30th odd minute, and then about 37th minute. This is what I was talking about in my little opening monologue. Noddy, there's a little regulation kick downfield. Looks like it's going to go dead for all money, and then just sits and stops and just very similar to Chad Townsend. Almost had that moment with Lachlan Coote in the 2016 prelim. Yep. I can hear Boldo from here going, stop talking about 2016. But a very similar incident happened where Lachlan Coote was willing it over the dead ball line. Chad came through, dotted down, and then they send up, I believe, as a try, and then it got overturned because both Coote had touched the ball first, so it was a dropout, but Chad also didn't cleanly ground the ball. So that was that happened right in front of where I was sitting as well. And as soon as that happened, it's like, oh gosh, it's our day. That if the bounce of the ball for the Reek try in the 26th minute, the fourth try didn't indicate that everything was going as well as it possibly could. That one did. And I just remember seeing the look on Robbie O'Davis's face when that happened. I think Mark Hughes was coming off injured at the time too. Newcastle were just looking. They would have, if there was a mercy rule or a forfeit rule, they would have just called it right there and said, let's just call it there. But yeah,
stay in the sheds at halftime.
Yeah, one of the great wins. And then this video, which is the second of the Peachy tries, is quite lengthy. You'll see Newcastle have possession. So I bring that up. So this is right on halftime. So they go downfield. Knights had a bit of an attacking run. Oh, is the video working? Please tell me it's. It may well have wigged out on us. If it has, we'll have to talk you through it. So, bit of kicking field. Oh dear. We've had some technical issues here. I'll have to talk to our fields leader. Oh, here we go. I'll get it back here. So basically, to summarise, kick downfield, fielded by Miller. Miller then goes on a great run of about 40-odd metres to bring it back to about 40 out. We then swing it right. There's Jai Mullane with it there. Gets it away to Mellor. He's the great Ray Warren commentary. It gets a player isolated, gives it to McKenna. McKenna's beaten others, pops it out the back. Back around on the inside. Pat Gibson tries to pick it up. Doesn't need to. Peachy scores. Peachy's over. And he dots down right on the dead ball line. Unfortunately, the video here.
The Peach taken off there too.
Yeah, here we are. Try and unfortunately, it's a bit glitchy, the size of this footage, but you see Peach there. He's got a
sunny Sunday arvo down at Shark.
Sunny Sunday arvo. I know that one of my favourite times to go to a game, the Sharks at the park in the dark on a Saturday night. That was back in the 90s, 93 onwards, I think it was where we got that fearsome reputation of winning all our matches. But how good a sunny Sunday afternoon, still some of the best games that we've seen have been on a sunny Sunday afternoon. And this was that. That video, unfortunately, because it froze, couldn't quite show it. But I haven't seen a standing ovation at Shark Park before or since like that. It was just unbelievable. 18,500 in the house that day. Losing their minds over the fact that the Sharks got 42-0 against the reigning premiers. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So yeah, so it was one of the great moments. From there, the second half was a little bit not quite ho-hum. I do know that in the post-match, the post-game reports, Chris Anderson was talking about preaching, hey, we must win the second half. It's quite easy to take the foot off the gas and end up winning, let's say 46-36 or something like that, with Newcastle running in some points. As we look at the second half, early on in the second half, Matt Reek scored in the 45th minute. That was probably the most regulation of our tries. Actually, he got downfield, swung it left, a bit of an offload, and he dotted down out wide. I think it was a Paul Fronze offload. Yep. And then shortly afterwards, a rare double intercept here for Matt Reek's hat-trick in the 60th minute. So the Knights had run in a try or two by this stage. Started to show a bit of promise. As I'll show this one here. And here we are in possession. Phil Bailey. Nice little pass to Daddy Badiris there, who then swings it right. Pass over the top. I think it was by John Morris, actually. Intercepted by Matthew Reek. And then he just shows his speed where he absolutely burns. I think it was Kurt Gidley coming across. Or Robbie O'Davis, one of the two, and scores. And I remember that one too. Similar to his very first try for the Sharks, way back in round 1 of that year against the Dragons at the City Football Stadium, bizarrely, of all places to play. He absolutely burnt, I think it was Gaznia, and whoever their fullback was at the time. And we're like, wow, who's this guy? He's just got unbelievable speed.
Yeah.
If only he could catch the ball.
Pace.
He had some handling issues, that's for sure. But good when he held on to it. Could score.
He was up there.
Yeah, so that was Reek's hat trick. I think his first hat trick in Sharks colours, anyway. And we were up by a very handy score, about 52 points to 4, 52 points to 10 at that stage. And then there would be another intercept, Paul Mellor, in the 64th minute, a bit of a turnover, with Paul Mellor scoring the first of his 2 tries. Solid tackle, actually, an error. And then Mellor picks it up, breaks out of a tackle. Unfortunately, we've lost the video again there where it's...
Lost that one too.
Yeah, yes. Frozen. Let me just... Here we are.
He had a lot of pace too, Mellor, didn't he? I keep forgetting how much pace Mellor had. He was big, long-legged, hard thing to tackle, and I just love those backs that we had at the time, in him and McKenna, and they were just huge.
Yeah, there's a good picture of Jason Stevens there on the sideline too, enjoying the sunny Sunday arvo. But yeah, you're right. Mellor started as an outside back in his early days with, was it Souths, debuting at 16 or something crazy. One of the youngest players of all time, and the Bulldogs. And we signed him, and he spent a bit of time in the second row, but he was so fast. And obviously we'd sign him again in, was that 2005, 2006. I remember him scoring a length of field intercept against South in late 05, which showed he still had it, speed-wise, for a big guy, which was early prototype, really, for some of the modern wingers. And then this is the moment we've all been waiting for. I'm not sure if you remember too much of this one, but Anthony Quinn's still having nightmares. So we spin it wide, one fend. Dear, we're having video issues again, but here we go. Bit of a right foot step. Sorry, I'll just skip forward so that actually works. He fends Anthony Quinn off 3 times down the right touch line. I'll just try and get that fixed so everyone can actually enjoy that. Or we can just keep replaying that huge left arm fend on Anthony Quinn. So there he is, steps inside, 1, 2, as one, 2 fends, and there was an early one back downfield and scores. And Ray Warren's there just going,
what a beast.
Get out of there. Get out of there again. You're not going to stop me. Some classic Rabs commentary. And that brought the house down, bring up 60.
Shown up 3 times in the one play.
Yeah, wow. Get shown up. And Mellor's, you look at his face there. He's as surprised as anyone that he just ran 80-odd metres to score that one with 10 minutes to go. So it's 60. I was like, oh, I remember at the time they're going, I think it was maybe Bryn who was there. We're both he's a good friend of the show. Young lads going, oh, maybe they could get 70. There's 10 minutes to go, get 2 more tries. Not to be. Ended up being converted that one. Not he did, and it was 62 points to 10. And then there was a penalty goal opportunity, which the crowd was a bit unsure of at the time. Do you remember why he took the 2? It was prominent in our discussion with Boldo earlier this season about taking the 2 or otherwise. So 62-10, the Sharks decide to take the 2, bizarrely. So anyway, it was Brett Kimmorley was sitting on 26 points, which was equal with the record held by Matt Rogers and Steve Rogers for individual point scoring. I'm not sure if it was sent out by the trainer, I think, but it was I think at the post-match press conference, Chris Anderson said that he'd approved it, and they took the 2. So Noddy took that to go to a 28-point individual haul, which was the Sharks, and still is a Sharks record. So that beats the 26 points scored by Steve Rogers, which is ironically the same haul, 2 tries, 10 goals. Noddy got 2 tries and 10 goals. But back then there was 3-point tries. That was back in 1977 in a 47 points to 10 win over the Western Suburbs Magpies. And then Matt Rogers in a game, ironically, against Newcastle at Shark Park in 2000, 2 years prior, had 3 tries, 7 goals for a 26-point haul. So Noddy wiped their names.
To be honest, I think I would have preferred to respectably not kick the goal, just in honour of Steve.
There was
equal.
You're not the first to say that. In that there was talk at the time in the forums and the fans and the like, going maybe because there's about 5 to go. I think take the tap, score a try, and keep the conversion, and then you've done it legitimately. I do know, though, that the counter to that was Matt Rogers attempted a penalty goal shot from something 45, 50 metres out to beat his own dad's record in that 2000 match, and he missed it. And his dad, obviously, Steve was, the late, great Steve was still alive at the time, and said, well, even if he did get it, I'm not sure if that should have counted, given the fact that I was scoring 3-point tries, he was scoring 4-point tries. So it's not a fair comparison. But anyway, Noddy got and still has the record. The Knights scored a very late try to, I can't remember who it was, in the corner. And I remember Joey Johns, for want of a better term, spitting the dummy and throwing the tee away, not even taking the kick. And poor Daniel Abraham, there was a bit of a delay in play. Billy Arian blew time off. Everyone just wanted to, I suppose, sing the song, shake hands and carry on. And there was a fair bit of consternation of, are they going to kick? Are they not? Joey just kind of threw it away. And then Daniel Abraham stepped forward and had a shot and shanked it. And then it finished 64-14. Because I remember watching it going, oh, gosh, I hope this doesn't go over, because a 50-point margin's nice. 48 doesn't have the same ring to it. Yep. So 64-14, it finished. Onto the actual talking points itself.
I'm glad he did take that penalty goal then.
Take the 2, yeah. So if it ended up being 62-16, it wouldn't have the same ring. So anyway, looking at it, a lot of talk at the time around Noddy versus Joey. Obviously, Noddy in 99 for Australia in the Tri-Nations at the end of the season, in 2000 State of Origin, and also for Australia had unseated Andrew Johns as halfback, and Joey had to play hooker. There's a lot of talk around, hey, who was better? I don't think I'm talking out of school by saying that Joey was definitely better, but Noddy had a pretty good record against Joey. So that was one thing that was focused on at the time. Do you remember their battle?
Pretty even. I think they had about 13 matches, for 7 to Joey, 6 to Noddy. And Noddy was Joey's understudy there in 95, wasn't he?
Correct.
He was, he couldn't find a way through into the team around Joey, so he signed on with the Mariners.
Yes, that's exactly right. So Noddy was one of the many players to come through that Newcastle system. Other players that went through there, Michael Ennis a bit later. Earlier than that, Brett Finch went through the Knights or the Hunter system, and then moved down to Canberra. So there's a lot of players. Craig Gower did have some time there later in his career, but there was an awful lot of quality halfbacks that were coming through that couldn't get a run in behind the Johns brothers and moved on. And there was Brett Kimmorley, went up to the Hunter Mariners, as did Craig Kimmorley, his brother, who didn't kick on to the same, anywhere near the same career level. But Noddy had a standout 97 season with Hunter Mariners, would then go on to Melbourne, and then ill-fated season with the Northern Eagles in 01 on a big money contract. And that's how we end up picking him up bargain basement at the start of 02. See the connection with Chris Anderson. Northern Eagles were looking to move him on, and that's where he would end up. But you nailed the stats there. Only 13 matches in total. Obviously, there was plenty of games where Joey was injured between 98 and 06, and obviously 97. They were both playing in different competitions, ARL versus Super League, so they wouldn't have played there. But 6 wins to Noddy, 7 to Joey. I do remember a few other good wins too by, I suppose, Noddy in Sharks colours. 03. When the Knights were obviously good and we were terrible in 03, Noddy got 3 intercepts for a hat-trick. I think it was the first hat-trick of his career, with a 30 points to 24 win up there. So good old Noddy.
I don't usually like to put Noddy and intercept in the same sentence, speaking in Origin earlier, but
that was 2 years ahead of the ill-fated moment. I was actually just about to comment and say, well, when Joey was out injured in 05, Noddy replaced him, and then that ruined the Sharks season. So maybe aligned with Nico's
Origin got us again.
Origin, yeah. So that was, gosh, we're talking almost 20 years here, and Origin continues to, been screwing the Sharks.
Noddy 2.0.
Hopefully not. There's still time in this season, but So what do you got? State of Origin, screwing the Sharks over since 1980, but moving right along. The flat attack. Baldo spoke briefly about it in our Tuesday show last night. For those listening to it in the future, our most recent match when we recorded this was against the Titans, where we won 44-0 unexpectedly up on the Gold Coast. And we had a few moments where a lot of our players were pushing up, aligned with the ball runner. Kale Iro scored a good try off a hole running off a flat pass. I think that was that McInnes who gave that to him? I can't remember. But Chris Anderson had come in, had success with the Bulldogs in 95 and the Storm in 98 with style. Brett Kimmorley was very suited to it, but it copped a lot of criticism, and it took the Sharks the best part of half a season to adapt to it. Hasn't really been a mainstay since, although it has come back in fleeting moments. You do see like our slingshot play had a very deep back line. I love a deep back line, but this game really illustrated when the flat attack is executed well, how effective it can be. Do you have any memories of this or comments on this Chris Anderson ball?
I remember finding it quite boring, to be honest.
Yeah.
The flat attack.
I hated it initially.
As you said, in the right circumstances and done the right way, it can be very effective. So I guess it's just an adaptive thing. And Chris Anderson was a master of it.
Yeah. So
coaching.
We did start to get success out of it, and we were getting some big scores with this side. Spoiler alert, the end of the 2002 season, there would be a change of rule interpretation with regards to surrendering in tackles. And we were starting to both be penalised for voluntary tackles. I think Chris Beattie, I remember distinctly in the final round 2002 match against the Roosters at home in front of 20,000, big Shark Park crowd on a Saturday night. And our winning streak of 11 matches got ended by the Roosters, where Tim Mander was the referee. We gave away a lot of penalties in possession. And when we didn't give away penalties, they had new ruck rules, I suppose, where the Roosters were just laying all over us and couldn't get a quick play the ball, and we just get absolutely monstered. So the key part of it was you needed quick play the balls. You needed forwards just basically just kind of like Tommy Hazelton does now, kind of hit the ground, play the ball. Cam McInnes is a good exponent of it too these days. It's like just don't worry too much about post-contact meters, just hit, play, go. And that was where you get your roll on. Yeah. Unfortunately, though, the Roosters were very good at, I suppose, their up and in defence and their wrestle, and the rule interpretation changes will really cruel us. So it's something that once you get found out, you've got to have a plan B, and we didn't have a plan B, unfortunately. Looking at that record score, though, 64 points. So, and I've spoken many times now about scoring over 50 points and all those things. Do you remember how many times prior to this game we'd scored over 50? All good if you don't.
No, I don't, mate. But I couldn't imagine to be too many.
He said two, only twice. So our first time in our history was in 1999 at North Sydney Oval. Second last match at North Sydney Oval ever against the Bears, 56 points to 18. And then the 2001 prelim against the Bulldogs, 52-10 the year before. So this is the first time at Shark Park that we breached the 50-point, I suppose, barrier. And then not only did we pass 50, we then went past 60 as well. So third time in our history. What a way to bring up 50 at Shark Park in front of the reigning premiers, and why not just add another 14 points to that? So it was a big deal. And it was the first time as well that Newcastle had conceded 60. They've since, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, they've conceded 70. Their biggest loss now is a 71 points to 6 loss to the Broncos in 2006, I believe, 2006, 2007 era. So we don't have the record, but we obviously do have the other 60. We got two other 60-point wins. The 62-0 win over Newcastle was our equal top. So that was that one.
Unfortunately, when we're looking at big score lines with the Sharks, I keep going back to the 74-4 Parramatta one. It's all that comes to mind every time, and so I try to block it.
We will cover that. We will, but yes, I think I need to cover that just to kind of get closure on it, just because I'm just like,
Can you put me on for that one as well, then, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I will. I think Barlow's lining up. Yeah. I don't care if we get 0 views on that one. I just need it for closure. I need to go, okay, cool. That was
for our own therapy.
Absolute dumpster fire of a match. I think I don't even, like, to be honest with you, I have not watched the game live. I remember listening to it on the radio and hearing the ref mic with Peachy, don't talk with your hands, David. I'm not talking with my hands, Shane. I'm passionate, and all that jazz. And then seeing the highlights afterward, and the footage of it, but I haven't seen the full match. So unfortunately, it is on YouTube. So we will do it at a later date. This 2002 side, so I've got a picture there of everyone celebrating try. There's a very, very young Paul Gallen with Brett Kimmorley there. So 2 future Sharks captains. I had a few comments on this side, but I'll let you start. Like any particular standout players from that year, or
mate, I used to be a massive fan of, and Chris Kelly was too, of Phil Bailey.
Yeah,
we love Phil Bailey. He was playing in the second row for this one.
He was. Yeah, first year for us.
Centers. Yep. Yeah, big fan of Phil Bailey, mate. Stoked to get Noddy. I love Noddy. Yeah. I just always thought he's a great player. He's a respectable player, good family man, and just one of those good figures to have around the young fellas in your team. Good leader, mate. I couldn't pick a bad player out of that whole 30-man squad. There were just some doozies there. So you got Matty Reek, you've got a young Paul Gallen, Chris Beattie, Dan Nutley. There's just some absolute superstars there, and just a lot of cult heroes in that team.
Yeah, we weren't aware of how bad things were to go in 2003, but 02 was a great era. Right. End of 2001, we lost obviously we lost John Lang, Martin Lang, Sean Ryan, a lot of a huge change to guard, Adam Dykes, Matt Rogers. So we go to 02, and I remember thinking, this will go one of 2 ways. It would go really good or really bad. I suppose it did both. It went really bad at the start of the year, up to mid-season, and then it went really good. And then we lost a few players at the end of 02, and then 03 went really bad. But looking at it, I had a quick look at the amount of players that made their debut that year. So a young Greg Bird made his debut, as did Paul Franze, Luke McDougall, Ryan McGoldrick, Dean Bosnich, Pat Gibson, and Jared Taylor, who played a few games at fullback for us. Obviously, Matt Johns joined us in the preseason. A bit of trivia for you. Matt Johns scored our first try in the 02 season. It was against the Dragons. It was 6-0 down at the time, and nice little interchange of passing. And so Preston Campbell was playing hooker. There was that controversy there. So Kimmorley starting halfback, Preston Campbell was starting hooker, and had some early success being fast out dummy half. But I remember he got concussed or injured anyway in the round 2 game against the Storm. Was in and out of the side. Had some injury issues and then some form issues, and then all that controversy went there. I do remember the off-season, though. There was all the talk around, was it Noddy or Preston who gets first crack? Noddy really can't play anywhere else. So Chris Anderson said that Preston would get first crack and then didn't. So that was controversial at the time, especially when mid-season we were losing 7 in a row, and Noddy actually got benched against Parramatta, and Preston came on. I remember the crowd just going crazy in Preston given and booing Noddy. And I did feel for the guy because I thought, gosh, he's just rocked up at the club trying to do his best, and he's not his fault that he's unseated or the coaches made him unseat the Dalian Player of the Year, but it was a really awkward situation. But I'm glad that Kimmorley had the career that he did with us because, as he said, he's an absolute legend human, family man, has had tragedy in his life too. So we wish him and his daughters and family all the best there. But yeah, great team. And then like the other players we had there too. So unfortunately, Preston Campbell departed in the year. Colin Best departed to Hull. Chris McKenna to Leeds. Paul Mell to Castleford. And Andrew Pearce played for us that year as well. He retired at the end of that year. So 02 was just you look for a team with a mix of youth.
The Super League there.
Yeah. Youth and experience. That team had a lot of a mix of youth experience. Unfortunately, from what I've heard, Chris McKenna departed, I believe, after a blow-up with Chris Anderson. Paul Mellor was similar. Dean Treestar talks well on the Talking with TK podcast about his experience and how the start of 03 went and his falling out with Chris Anderson and Nick Graham as well. So real shame there.
The pattern there.
Yeah, it was a pattern, unfortunately. But yeah, that was great times, a great side, so many likable players. And yeah, just to go back to Phil Bailey, did love a settler on the fourth and not passing to his outside man. But obviously, cult hero making the State of Origin side, all 3 matches in 03, moving to the centres for us. I think he was our top try scorer in 2003 as well. But my favourite Phil Bailey moment will always be, and we'll cover it at a later date, the 2002 semi-final, week 2 finals against Dragons. We were down at the time, and he scored to even things up and put us in the lead. And he mowed straight over the top of Mark Gasnier, put the ball down, and then pegged the ball at Gasnier's face while he was on the ground in celebration. And I think Gasnier's still got a stunned look on his face. So that's was absolute highlight.
Cooking with Gaz.
Yes, cooking with Gaz. But I remember that. And I do remember being at that match, and there was some older ladies.
I remember that match.
Yeah, right near us at Sydney Football Stadium going, you can't do that. And we're just like, he just did. How good. So Phil Bailey, legend. Yeah. Moving on to, so moving on to the final point is your mate, Jai Mullane, with an exclamation mark. So you guys played together, obviously in the juniors. So you won what was the title that you guys won?
Yeah, so mate, we're in year 6 at the time, so we're only about 12, and it was a state and local junior knockout competition. And Jai was our standout player. He was, as I said, his old man coached us, so we were in good hands. We had some, just awesome memories there, mate. We got in the leader for it. Got to play the local grand final on Shark Park and the state grand final at Parramatta Stadium, which we won, and it was awesome.
Yeah, good.
Still holding on to it to this day as probably my biggest achievement.
Nah, you got to hold on to
this. And having a child.
Yes, well, we won't talk about those things, but no, definitely they are all awesome.
And the 2016 grand final.
Yes, something outside of our control, but means so much to us. Yes. But no, you got to hold on to these moments. Yeah, that's great stuff.
I'll have to get find the snippet out of the leader and get it onto one of the upcoming episodes.
We might have to, get that. We might have to reach out to Jai as well, and we might need to do a redux or a director's cut version of this where I've got the IT working with the videos. Get Jai Mullane on. We'll get you'll cut out of the leader. Debut. Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly.
What a debut! It's probably the greatest debut in Sharks history.
Absolutely. It's if you pick any match to debut in, that is the one. Like that is just unbelievable. The only other thing, and it wasn't a debut,
played too.
Yeah, to play, go into the halves, pairing with Noddy up against a young Kurt Gidley and Andrew Johns at the age of 20, 21. That's just 21, I mean, cliched when we say the stuff dreams are made of, but that is at rocking Shark Park. How good. Looking at his career, he would play 4 matches that season for us. He would play and scored 2 tries. He got a double a few weeks later against the Tigers. So, not against Tigers, sorry, against the Cowboys at home. So he got the some accolades there. So he also played Tigers away, Cowboys at home, where he scored the double, and the Roosters away in the quarterfinal. Was a late inclusion for Matthew Johns. Matthew Johns then played the following week against the Dragons, had the neck injury that was still causing him grief, came off early. Greg Bird goes on, and it's not quite a debut, but that moment for Greg Bird where he scored late in that match as an 18-year-old in a semi-final with Dean Treaster picking him up, and that's, I suppose, another where dreams are made kind of moment. But good on you, Jai Mullane. That is absolutely fantastic. He played 13 matches for us across the 02 and 03 seasons, 3 tries in total, 7 wins, 6 losses. So he had a positive differential there, or positive record, which is good. Then he went on to Manly. He played 11 games, scored 2 tries for them. A few of the pictures I could find of him were in a Manly jersey playing against the Sharks at Brookvale, unfortunately. So I couldn't include those. I did include this one. And then he went on to play rugby union, playing for the Waratahs, Central Coast in the Shute Shield, and then, or whatever it was known as the time. And then went on to France and played union for, pardon my pronunciation, Béziers, and league for Les Ignons, I think is the pronunciation there. So good on you, Jai Mullane.
Watching the Olympics again.
Yeah. And we're crossing to the rowing in Les Ignons. Yes.
As long as it's not the breakdancing, mate, that's all right.
Yes. Oh, good. Oh, there we go. We fit it in. We were talking about after the show last night on the Tuesday show. This is going to date this video to the 2024 Olympics and all things ray gun and breakdancing. We didn't even mention it after. I think both myself and Baldo were planning on making mention, and we didn't at all. So here we are. You and I got in first.
It found its way in.
That's it. But thank you, Jai Mullane. What a day to debut. I'm sure he will remember that forever. I hope he still has that jersey 18 framed somewhere as well for him. Going through the fallout. So Cronulla Sharks 64, Reek a hat trick, Kimmorley 2 tries, Peachy 2 tries, Mellor 2 tries, McKenna and Treesteed both got singles, and Kimmorley 10 from 12 with the boot, defeating the Newcastle Knights tries to Matthew Gidley, Andrew Johns and Tamana Tahu. Andrew Johns 1 from 2, Daniel Abraham none from 1. So that's a pretty good try scoring list there. I'm sure the way the game was built, if you go, the Knights score 3 tries through Gidley, Johns and Tahu, you think, oh, okay, they probably got the win there, probably 18-10 or something, like the 0-1 prelim, but not to be. The Sharks would continue winning up until round 26, where they'd lose to the Roosters. That was a match 4v5, the old McIntyre system. If we won that, would have been 12 in a row, and we would have been playing the Roosters at home first week of the finals. Instead, we lost. We went to the City Football Stadium and lost there. The Bulldogs in around that time got all their points stripped for the salary cap cheating. The Warriors then became the minor premiers. So we finished 5th with 15 wins, 9 losses. Only 2 wins ahead were the Knights finishing 2nd. So a tight competition, and basically team. And if the Bulldogs hung around, we would have finished 6th, which seems kind of borderline criminal. But if you look at the Bulldogs were that good that year, I think they won 17 matches in a row or something crazy. They eventually got beaten by the Warriors to end that winning streak. But they were far and away minor premiers, absolute runaway. And then from teams 2 to 6, it was very tight. Ultimately, we would then lose the prelim to the Warriors after winning week 2 of the finals against the Dragons. Opportunity lost, but I think that if we
try, he should not have got run down.
Yeah, but so I mean, there was that
2
one
prelims in a row.
2 in a row. That one, I think, with the Peachy intercept and he got run down. Paul Mellor offloading it to, was it Francis Melly or whoever it was, to score in the corner. So they're only up, I think they're only up 4-0 or 6-0 at halftime. And then we scored early with a Matt Reed try from a crossfield kick. Paul Mellor had a broken rib. I think late on he had a ball turned inside, and it was basically he was in under the post, but he was in that much pain that he got cut down. And John Carlo got the try from the grubber late on, and then we had a late opportunity to win it with a scrum, and I think Peachy kicked it on the first. So I don't want to talk too much about that one. I've still got nightmares, but opportunity lost. But if it's any consolation, I think we would have been cannon fodder the following week against the Roosters with their salary sombrero. So anyway, that was 2002. Thanks, lads. Any closing comments from yourself?
No, mate. Just don't forget to include me in that 74-4 loss to the Eels. And I don't really want to watch the Warriors match again either, but I will watch this match all day, every day for the next year. Yeah,
I'll watch this one all day, every day. You're right. The only thing with this one is the full replay is not available. It's only some highlights on YouTube that I think was a Sharks presentation back in the day. It's been done up by the club, and I think they showed it on the big screen a few years ago at a home match for everyone to reminisce. So you can't get the full replay on the NRL website. So
someone's
come on, NRL
somewhere.
Yes, someone would have an old recording somewhere of it. I think on I'll show my age here. I think Michael Garbett, so former CWC friend, used to upload videos. So I think I'd got a few recordings of him off when he uploaded them online back in the day on the old dial-up. I think it took me like 3 hours to download a clip of Peachy scoring, but that was back on a computer that's long since entered landfill. So yeah, there's got to be a recording getting around somewhere. But that 74-4 match we will cover at some stage. We might do it as a live episode so everyone can just join in with the heartache. There's so many Sharks connections in that Eels. Oh yeah, the therapy. So many Sharks connections in that Eels team too. You got Adam Dykes and John Morris and and the like. So we won't speak any further there. Way to bring the mood down. I mean, I mentioned it, I suppose.
Sorry, mate.
But yeah, we're talking about 64-14 and we're talking about 74-4. Yes, yeah. No, Jamie Lyon, 5 tries. Anyway, we won't talk any further about that. If you were here that day, or if you had any particular memories, please send them through in the comments. Next week, we're playing the Dragons away. So I think we'll be covering the 2013 away match Monday night. Andrew Feeder with the last-minute try. That was a big one. I watched that one from Europe, actually. So that was good times there. So anywho, for those playing at home, up Cronulla, and we'll see you soon. Go Sharks.
Up.